Hello and welcome. I hope you're having a glorious day today. It is just lovely here in Darwin. I'm sitting up close to my lounge room outside of the healing space today. I enjoyed broadcasting from my dining room, actually, to tell you the truth, last week so much when I was joined by my friend and colleague, Mark Rawlings, that I thought this makes really good sense. It's a nice space to have my lounge room chat. So here we are, it's Wednesday lunchtime again. I'm Linda Emslie and you're tuning into the lounge room chat at Lovlali, where we cover off all sorts of topics. The main area of interest for me is how to detox your corporate career. And one of the really key things to detoxing your corporate career is to come into connection with your own inner guidance. And given there's so much static in our lives, particularly when we're in a fast-paced corporate environment where we've got deadlines, client demand, boss demand, and then outside and over that we've got whatever's going on in our family to contend with as well. It can make it really, really difficult to hear that inner guidance. And so that's why I've chosen to do the type of work that I do, is to help people in those situations heal themselves, whether that's body, mind or spirit, or to take a step outside the box and see what other possibilities are out there to help you find a way to tune into that inner guidance so that you can make better decisions that support you and what you're actually here for, which isn't what we all think is to come here and find a job so we can pay our bills and that's what our life is all about. No, there's much more going on. So one of the things I really wanted to focus on today was the whole idea of self-care. Self-care is a concept that gets bandied about quite a bit, and it's one of those areas where we think if we've ticked a box in I've done a yoga class this week, or I've gone to the gym this week, or I had a massage this week, I've ticked that self-care box. And to a certain extent, that's true. You have indeed ticked the self-care box, but I'm asking you to start looking a little bit deeper and to take on board the qualities, the components, the key characteristics of self-care to a really deep inner level. Okay, so yes, I'm advocating that you go for regular massage treatments, given that, well, that's one of the things that I do. Of course, I'm going to advocate good quality care like massage therapy, like Reiki, like intuitive body work, the things that really get you back into connection with your body and help you find a way to maintain your own level of care outside of those environments too. But I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent, which often happens when I'm in the lounge room chat. I often do go off on a little tangent. But today I wanted to focus on the 3 core principles for self-care. And I see Lisa Marie King has joined us. Hello, Lisa. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm talking about the 3 core principles of self-care. But before we even launch into what those key principles are, a very good friend of mine who is also a teacher of mine and a mentor and a very, very respected practitioner in South Australia, recently put out there, and I tend to agree with her wholeheartedly, the whole idea of self-care is actually not the activities that you do, but the fact that you make a decision, that you make a commitment, that you put yourself as a priority and you decide to take care of yourself. Okay, Lisa Marie, what do you think of that idea? You know, is self-care just a list of activities that you tick off when you get the opportunity, or is it a decision and a commitment to actually take care of yourself and make yourself a priority? Put you as number 1, the center of your universe. So that's certainly something that I've contended for a long time, that true self-care comes when you place yourself front and center. And, you know, people like Tanya Wilson, that my mentor, also says it's about making a decision. You decide to honor yourself and take care of yourself. So That's the premise that I'm working from when I'm talking about the 3 core principles that we're covering today in the lounge room chat. So if you're just popping on, I'm Linda Emslie from Lovlali, and you're connecting into the lounge room chat today to find out a little more about self-care in the hopes that this will help you detox your corporate career. So the key to detoxing your corporate career is getting into connection with your inner guidance. And one of the ways we do this is by looking after ourselves. So here we go, the 3 core principles of self-care. And we're all really familiar with this. In fact, we glibly roll this off our tongue. It's body, mind, and spirit. They're the 3 core principles of self-care. So when we talk about body, mind, spirit, what are we actually talking about? So Lisa, have you got any ideas that you'd like to share in the lounge room today about what your thoughts are on body, mind, spirit and how that relates to self-care? Be really keen to get your input. So when I talk about body, mind, spirit, I like to keep in mind that those 3 components, although we see them as being distinct, discrete categories, just like everything we're coming to understand, we're all interconnected. So these 3 items, these 3 principles are actually interconnected avenues of self-exploration. And so when we talk self-care, we can start interweaving that whole idea of self-exploration. So with body, the really important thing to understand about your body is this is a sacred vessel. This is what we have been gifted to carry our soul here on earth. It is a sacred vessel that is here for the specific purpose of housing your soul, of giving your soul that bodily experience of what it's like to exist on this plane and to move through our world. So this is where it's vital that we come into connection with our bodily senses and really sit deep down in the body so the soul gets to experience life here on earth, life as a body, life as a human being. That's what we're here for. So I really encourage you to bear that in mind when you start looking at, well, how do I take care of my body? Because so many people that I see, and I've been guilty of this in the past too, and still occasionally when I get carried away with what I'm doing, neglect to take good care of my own body. But it's really important that we get out of our headspace and really come back all the way down, right to the tips of your toes, all the way into your body and experience life on earth. So open those physical senses, you know, your touch, your taste, your sense, you know, your feeling, your vision, your ears, hearing, smelling. Get those senses activated and connect with the inner child so that that sense of magic and wonder, of childlike innocence as you explore the world, is what your soul gets to experience. It's how your soul gets to experience. It's how you enrich your personal experience of life on earth, is to allow the soul to connect through your body with the world and allow yourself to connect with that soul through the inner child so you experience the magic. It's an exquisite place that we live in. There is nothing else like it, well, that we haven't discovered yet, in the universe. You know, I'm sure there are other life-bearing planets out there, but is there anything else exactly like the beautiful planet that we live on? I don't know. It's not been discovered yet. So we need to cherish and honour not only the planet that we live on, but the body that we've been granted, gifted to experience this planet in. So that's what I talk about that's what I mean when I talk about taking care of body. And there are a number of things you can do to get back into connection with your body and start honouring yourself in your self-care practice in the way you inhabit your body. So Lisa, do you have some thoughts that you'd like to share with us here on anything I've said just then, any questions that may have come up for you, or some thoughts that you've had along the way, and maybe some of, if you want to, share some of your own self-care practices in regard to looking after the body. So I have mentioned massage. One of the really effective ways of getting back into your body is to actually just move. And this is also the antidote to stuck energy, is to get up and move. So if you are feeling stuck in your life role at the moment, or in the place that you find yourself in, it's as simple as getting up and moving that will help the energy start shifting. So first we unblock the energy in our body, and that helps it to unblock the energy in the environment around us. So the antidote to stuckness is movement. The antidote to living in our head is movement, because we have to get back into our body to actually get around and move. So choosing movement is, there's a plethora out there. Go shopping, try things, look for what makes you feel good. Also bear in mind what you're working with. If you have injury or illness, or you're recovering from surgery, or you haven't engaged in any form of movement practice for any period of time, then be mindful of those things and choose to step into movement gracefully and easily, honouring where you're at right now. Okay, I'm going to use this word honour and self-honouring quite a lot in the discussion today, because this is the foundation stone that underpins each of those core principles that we're going to talk about. So we're talking about body, mind and spirit as the three core principles for self-care. And what underpins each of those is honouring self. Okay, so talking about body, we've got your movement processes and practices, whether that's team sport, whether it's yoga, whether it's Pilates, whether it's your own form of practice that you've brought together for yourself, where you know what your body responds to, whether it's a series of stretches and exercises that energize and activate your body in just the right way for you. That's fantastic. If you are self-aware enough to have discovered those and developed your own routine, your own practice, that's kudos to you. Well done. So the second core principle that I want to talk about today in regard to self-care is the mind. And again, we tend to chunk things in boxes. And I don't know whether that's just a leftover of, oh, door just slammed shut downstairs and made the whole house shake. Whether this idea of cutting things into separate little boxes is just a leftover from when we first started stepping into that scientific model where, you know, there was such a reductionist viewpoint of cutting things right back down to the bare essentials. But I think for a very long time, if you look at some of the more traditional practices and some of the more traditional healing practices in particular, there is no division. They are interconnected. So I think the Western world is just starting to come back to that realization that there is no separation between the mind and the body, other than what science over the last couple of 100 years has determined that the separation is. So I'm going to continue that vein of a slight separation there of when we're talking about mind. We're going to step outside the body and talk about some practices that help stillness. So what helps the mind? We've got movement for the body, but we've also got stillness for the mind. So I'm talking about meditation broadly. That's certainly a key activity to help us find that quietness inside, that stillness. And when we talk about stillness and quietness, I'm not talking about an absence of thought. Rather, what I'm talking about is an ability to step back, to create distance, to enable thought to flow without engaging self in the process of that. So we're looking for that quiet space that allows thought to operate around you without driving you into it and being engaged into the thought process and problem solving, etc., etc. So meditation is certainly a wonderful practice to develop to enable that sense of spaciousness within that gives thought room to operate without having you engage in the process. And there are many different forms of meditation. So do shop around and check out different forms of meditation. I personally like guided meditation. I love journey meditation. I love drumming journeys. Those are some of my personal favourites. But you need to check around and see what works for you. There are mantra meditations, there are visualization processes, there's walking meditation. There are so many things to choose from, but you need to find what works for you. What is going to give you that sense of being able to step out of the thought process and be able to sit in an inner sanctuary of stillness, quietness, spaciousness. That's certainly one. One of the other favourite practices that I have certainly indulged in quite a lot in my childhood and am endeavouring to bring back into my adulthood is the ability to daydream. This is another beautiful way of disconnecting self from the thought process. But more than that, it actually engages that imaginative flow, that connection between imagination and intuition. So daydreaming, far from being a waste of time or a waste of space or an activity to avoid, is actually a really powerful way for you to give free rein to your dreams, to allow your subconscious to peek through the conscious eyes and to make that connection between your imagination and your intuition, to step back from the rational mind and allow free rein to creativity, to allow it to come forth. So daydreaming, I think, in my opinion, is a beautiful way to allow the mind to find quietness. And that quietness is stepping out of the day-to-day thought, stepping out of the mundane, well-worn path of routine thought that we get stuck in, of this is what I have to do, these are my current worries, this is, round and round on that familiar treadmill path that we have when we operate in our day-to-day thought process. Okay, so we're looking for activities that allow the mind to escape that routine. And to develop, meditation certainly allows you to develop some mental discipline. I believe that daydream does too, but it allows the discipline of flow, which is quite an interesting concept when we're so used to discipline being about structure, format, containment, process. Okay, so allowing yourself to develop the discipline to flow and go with creativity, I think, is a really valuable gift. Okay, so that's talking about the second really important principle of today's discussion, which is mind. So that brings us to spirit. I just need a drink of water. How are you going there, Lisa Marie? Do you have questions at this point? Or any contribution that you'd like to make to the conversation? Just feel free to type it. Actually, I need to scroll down just in case there are comments coming through that I've completely missed, because I tend to seem to do that. Forget to scroll and see comments as they come through. That's all good, that I don't seem to have missed anything, so that's fabulous. So that brings me to the final key principle today for self-care, which is spirit. And what I'm talking about here is the ability to develop a practice that supports you in your own personal exploration of what spirit means for you. Whether you have an existing religious faith that provides a framework for you that supports you in the way that you need it to right now, or whether it's a case of you're coming into reconnection with some of the ancient mystery schools, some of the teachings that come down to us from ancient traditions, or whether you're being guided by the beautiful melange we have today in what's termed New Age spirituality, of a number of those different traditions, but seem to be based a lot in Hindu practice. So whether you're venturing down that pathway, there's so much for you to choose from. And the key here again is inner listening, being guided by your inner resource and what appeals to you, what resonates with you, the information as it comes to you that makes you feel that sense of being connected to something bigger. And so for me as a Reiki practitioner, as a Reiki master, you know, the concepts of the Reiki tradition that's been handed down, some of the precepts that we work with, the symbols themselves give you an anchor point, a starting place, a pathway with signposts. This is what I'm talking about with spiritual practice, is some signposts that help you explore that expression of yourself. Spiritual practice is about exploring your self-expression as it relates to coming into the understanding of that broader consciousness that we are actually a part of. And I think there are many of us wakening up. Hey Adair, nice to see you popping on in. I know you've got a very full schedule, so I do appreciate you taking time. In the lounge room chat today, I am talking about the 3 core principles of self-care, and we understand these as body, mind and spirit. And I've just talked at some length about body and mind, and you've popped in time to hear about spirit. So I'm talking about spiritual practice as it relates to the awareness millions of us are coming to in this day and age, that there's actually more to life than getting up, going to work, paying bills, dropping dead at the end of the day with that's what our life has been about. There's a dawning realization around the world, I think, that our soul resides within the body and has specific purpose to bring forth, and that our body encompasses this, and it is part of the process of plugging our soul purpose in to the earth. But more than that, it's coming into awareness that we are interconnected and that there is more going on. There is a cosmic consciousness that we are actually a part of. And so spiritual practice is a beautiful framework, and I've got a hashtag nodding from Adair. Yeah, that we are all coming to a dawning realization that we contribute so much more than going to work and paying bills. That there is a higher purpose and that we are part of it, and that we are connected into a higher consciousness. And your own spiritual practice, whether it be an existing religious faith that provides you what you need, or whether you are searching and taking little bits from the existing ancient traditions that have been handed down to us, and some of the newer precepts that are coming through healing practices, through the idea of quantum healing. There is a lot of research coming through in the field of quantum physics itself that supports this whole idea of interconnectedness, of consciousness actually having a bigger role to play in life and in the understanding of our world than we have up to now thought. Oh my goodness, I'm getting so tongue-tied, because when I start thinking quantum physics, that's where I realise I don't have the neural network there at all, you know, those neurons, that neural pathway. I'm still working on that. So I do get a bit of a brain fart happening when I start thinking about quantum physics. So let's not go there. Other than to say, there are some very, very clever, well-educated people out there who are much more savvy in these things than I am, who lend their support to the whole idea of there being a greater consciousness, and that it actually plays a role in the interaction of life on Earth, even down to the atomic level. So that's enough said about that. Just checking if there are any other comments that have come through. No, that's all good. Any questions? So this brings me down to the really key element of today's talk. I've touched on body, mind, spirit connection previously, but what I want to really bring to your attention here is what underpins each of those principles is your act of self-honouring, okay? And it's a conscious decision. So we get back to what I started the conversation with, is choosing or making a decision to look after yourself. And in doing that, it's about choosing to honour yourself in every aspect of your life. So when you're choosing what you have for breakfast, how is that honouring yourself? Is what you're choosing to nourish your body with this morning or this afternoon or this evening an act of honouring self? When you choose to rush out the door without having breakfast, is that choosing to honour yourself? When you choose to react in a particular situation in a certain way, is that choosing to honour yourself, or is that totally disregarding self and not giving self the space it needs to choose a response? When you choose a particular activity or choose to ignore your body when it's sending pain signals, are you honouring yourself? When you choose not to do your meditation today, or not allow yourself to have a daydream, or not allow yourself space to sit back from your thoughts, how is that honouring yourself? When you choose to ignore your soul calling, or to hear or explore or choose a pathway with guideposts that take you down a particular practice path, is that honouring yourself? So a little bit esoteric here today, I'm afraid. I don't have practical steps for you other than look at what you're doing for yourself in the region of body, mind and spirit, and are you choosing activities that truly honour yourself? Okay, we need to make a decision when it comes to self-care, and I'm asking you to look beyond the tick and flick box of self-care. I went to the gym, I had a massage, I did 3 laps of the pool, whatever it is, but look deeper at how you engage self-care as a concept that honours self and places you front and centre in your own world, places you as the #1 priority, front and centre in your world. Everything else hangs off that. Okay, everything else in your world happens because you are present. You are here and you are looking after yourself. These things will happen better the better that you look after yourself. Now, I'm speaking from a wealth of personal knowledge here. I know when I'm not looking after myself well, the wheels start falling off a little bit. So speaking from an area of self-awareness here, the better I look after me, the better I'm able to function in my world, and the better I am able to look after those who rely on me, like my family, my clients, my friends, my husband, those sort of things. So it's not being selfish to put yourself first. It is actually a very, very smart thing to do, and it improves the way the rest of your world operates if you do take a stand for yourself. So I've just about reached the end of my 30 minutes. It's been a really great time for me to be on my soapbox for a full 30 minutes today. It's been wonderful. If there are any questions that come through afterwards, just pop them in the comments below. I will come back through and answer any questions, or, you know, if there's conversation ready to start, I'd love to engage in some dialogue. Adair, that is my pleasure. And, you know, it's not out of the box advice. I'm sure that you've heard that from other people in the past, and we all will hear it again and again from each other into the future, because it's a constant reminder that self-care, honouring self, whether you choose to do it through the 3 core principles of body, mind and spirit, are essential. They're vital. You must take care of yourself. Okay, you've got so much to bring, so much to offer to this planet, and so much to be present for in the world around you. Just do please start honouring yourself. You are very important. You are very special, and we're very, very grateful to have your presence here. So take good care of it. Okay, I'm going to stop nagging. I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I'm going to let let people absorb that and respond if they would like to respond. Yep, bring that back into focus and keep reminding. Yeah, we need to remind each other. Right? We're all here. We're all interconnected. We're all part of the overall picture, but we all have a unique thread, a unique resonance, a unique harmony to bring. Okay, that's it from me. I'm Linda Emslie from Lovlali. This has been the Lunchtime Lounge Room Chat. I'm very grateful to both Adair and Lisa Marie for joining me live today. I know that lunchtime is often a bit of a busy time for people, so thank you very much for choosing to have lunch with me today. And I look forward to having another Lounge Room Chat next Wednesday. Bye for now.